we're out and about to open the boxing year on BT Sport. Next week, we go to Cardiff to meet Robert Smith, the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control. And we've also received an invitation from the Eubanks to spend a day in their company in Brighton. Now, that should be interesting. But first up, the big question going into 2015 for all British fight fans. What next for our fighter of the year, Carl Froch? So many plans, so many rumours abounding concerning the state of his career, whether indeed he will fight on. A lot has been said, but we thought the simplest way was to come to his home in Nottingham, knock on his front door and ask the man himself. So here goes.
Paul Dempsey, what are you doing here?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm here on business, actually, on behalf of the British fight fans, Carl. There's a lot of questions surrounding your future. I'm here to put them to you today. Are you going to invite me in?
Let's do it. I better show you the family first.
Oh, are they all here?
Come and meet the family, yeah.
Oh, tremendous. Beautiful new house, by the way.
We're right through here.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. How lovely to see you, Rachel. And here's Talia. Hello, the new arrival last year.
That's what we call her, Talia. Her name's Natalia.
Yes.
But we say Talia.
And Rocco, we know as well. He's had a haircut for 2015.
Say hello. Say hello.
And nice to see you again, sir.
Shake his hand.
Last time I saw you were bouncing around in the garden on a summer's day. And, of course, that was one of the motivations when you were fighting George Groves second night. As you said, actually, after the fight, how much you'd missed seeing her.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Early days.
I started training for the second fight, and she was a tiny baby, and never really had any time with her.
Do you mind all these people traipsing through your house?
No.
You've just got Christmas and New Year out of the way.
Yeah, no, definitely New Year. It's great.
Lovely new house, fantastic. The fruits of all this success over the years. It's great. It's a true success story, of course, for you guys and for the city of Nottingham, where we are today, and so on. And what a wonderful place for you all.
I'm an honorary freeman of the city now.
We'll get to that a bit
Whatever
later.
that means.
Have you enjoyed? He's been off for 7 months, which you probably knew anyway. Have you enjoyed having him at home for all that time?
But I'm looking forward to him going back to camp now.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
So there's the first exclusive. There definitely will be another camp. Were you running over Christmas?
I was doing a bit.
You look okay.
I ate a few mince pies, but I've still got it. I've still got it, Paul. I'm like you, I keep in good shape.
Well, listen, you're the one who does it for a living. And have you enjoyed the last few months living off the success that you've all worked, including him? I mean, you all make the sacrifices, don't you? That's sometimes overlooked in the life of a boxer.
Yeah, no, definitely. But, no, it's been lovely to have him home, but I think he's getting itchy hands now. He maybe wants to go back in the gym. It's been lovely having him home, and the kids have loved it. I think they'll miss him the most. They'll really miss him when he goes to camp.
Well, we're here today, and once more, thank you very much for us just walking right on top of you. I know you're on your way out, I think.
Yes.
Off you guys go, and lovely to see you all again today. Carl, let's go through to your sitting room, and we'll take a stroll back through your career. You've got some of your belts out, which create some great memories, and we'll talk about the future, because we're already getting a picture that there is a future for him in the ring.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go this way, shall we? And you can hit me, and you can put me down, but you won't keep me down, ever. He was more than worthy of getting in the ring with me, and more than worthy of people justifiably thinking that George Groves is probably going to win this fight. He was gone, finished against the worst possible me. Disrespectful, obnoxious, idiot boy. He's boring. And that's the reason he's not got a television broadcaster deal in America, and that's the reason he's not fought for over a year. If I was 28 years old and had another 5, 6, 7 years left in the pro game, I'd fight to get out. For me to land perfectly on George Groves' chin and flatten him in front of 80,000 fans at the Wembley Stadium and millions watching across the world, it was just unbelievably satisfying, brilliant, best moment of my career. What is there left for me to do in this world of boxing? And that is Las Vegas.
Mile High Mike Alvarado.
Bombs away! This is brutal.
Brandon Bam Bam Rios.
Big right hand by Rios. I think someone's hurt.
Their first 2 fights were legendary.
Right hand for Rios. Alvarado fires back to the right and the left.
Don't miss a historic night of boxing as these 2 warriors collide for a decisive 3rd confrontation.
What a show by Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado.
These are the guys that they make movies about.
See it live.
John, focus. Think about our training.
You can concentrate when you're hungry. Eat a Snickers. Better?
Better. You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers. Get some nuts.
Okay, Google, how many grams in a cup of sugar?
200 grams.
Okay, Google, show me pictures of a ladybird cake.
Here are some matching pictures.
Okay, Google, where's the nearest cake shop?
Here are the listings for cake shop within 2 miles.
Delicious new recipe bases. Maybe I cook tonight.
This is good, Sophia. Maybe you cook every night, huh?
When the York told me all day.
Take it off, amore. Take it off.
No.
You took off my pepperonis.
Love your pepperonis, but she's here now.
Am I too thick?
You're a pizza, and we're done.
Oh, mamma mia, no.
Don't let food hang around.
Benito.
Help keep teeth clean and healthy. Eat, drink, chew, extra.
Tim, show Joel how everything you touch turns into Skittles.
That's awesome.
Is it awesome? Excuse me.
Touch the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow.
How Sif broke the curse of the streak. The princess cleaned and cleaned, but horrid streaks cursed her bathroom until she summoned Sif, power and shine. Sif banished all the limescale and streaks. For 100% streak-free shine, there's always a beautiful ending with Sif, power and shine.
A Boxing Tonight special to start 2015, at home with Carl Froch, and the trappings of success all around you in your beautiful new house. The trophies so hard won in the ring, Carl. And maybe we should start by, as we are in Nottingham, by pointing out to everybody that you are an elite company in another way. Torvill and Dean, Robin Hood, Brian Clough, Carl Froch.
I'm not sure if Robin Hood's an honorary Freeman, but I know where he was going with that one. Is he real or is he a myth? I think Robin Hood's real, actually. But no, you're right. Paul Smith, Torvill and Dean, Brian Clough, all honorary Freemen of the city.
That meant an awful lot to you, didn't it?
Oh, it really did, yeah. I mean, I'm born and raised in Nottingham, so it's to be acknowledged by the powers of Nottingham as somebody who brings attention and, you know, wealth and, you know, I'm basically putting Nottingham on the map, not only in my own country, but internationally, which is why you get recognised, which is it's great to be amongst the elite. And they did a fantastic job as well, by the way, the Nottingham City Council.
Your amateur days in the city, you were a two-time ABA champion, and lest we forget, Britain's first ever world medalist.
That's right, yes. I picked up a bronze in Belfast in 2001. Lost to the eventual gold medalist, the Russian, Andrei Gagayev, I think his name was. I actually watched, there's a few bits of footage on YouTube now of that fight. And I was getting to him in the end, but no, I think it was 5 2-minute rounds. Maybe it was 4 2-minute rounds.
You've always been good at putting a gloss on your own performances. Am I allowed to mention Dennis Inkin?
Dennis Inkin, a guy, he beat me in Finland, I think it was, in the Tama tournament, and it ended up that I was supposed to be fighting him for the vacant WBC title. That became vacant when Joe Calzaghe vacated it.
When you both turned professional years later.
Yes, Dennis Inkin and myself, we both turned professional. I don't know what happened to him, actually. He's disappeared. But he pulled out of the fight for the belt that Calzaghe vacated, and I ended up fighting Jean Pascal. I think I'd have rather fought Inkin because that was a 12 round.
Just before we get to the array of world title belts at the top, why don't we start down here with the
British
Nottingham
title.
day? I call it the Nottingham era of your career, in a sense. You know,
Yeah,
winning the marvellous Lonsdale belt, the British title. And also the Commonwealth title. And I remember you having some really hard fights for Commonwealth titles.
I boxed Charles Adamo when he was still pretty active and quite lively. My first 12-round fight, I think it was my 12th professional fight against King Charles Adamo, and he came in with the belt, very proud warrior. I think he'd come fresh off a win against the awkward Matthew Barney, who I later boxed to defend my British title. And yeah, I think what a fighter he was, tough, hard. I think that was one of my hardest fights, and I say it was one of my hardest fights, even though it was domestic level for a Commonwealth belt. It was early on in my career when I was inexperienced and, you know, a little bit wet behind the ears, a bit naive, not that confident to do the 12 rounds. So I had all this in my mind going into the fight, and I hit him with some of my best shots, and he just smiled at me and kept coming forward. But round 8, I put him over, And that was the lease of life and the confidence boost I needed to finish the fight strong and take a 116-113 victory on Marcus McDonald, who refereed and scored it at the time.
It's all in there, isn't it?
You never really forget.
What were your realistic ambitions in that era of your career?
Well, when you consider I didn't actually want to turn professional, Rob McCracken twisted my arm for about 7 months and sort of made me turn pro. Say made me, he didn't put me up against the wall and threaten to put one of his big right hands into me, but he said, look, you should turn professional, really. I'd just come fresh off winning a bronze medal in the World Championships, and the next thing for me to do that would have been big would have been either the Commonwealths, which it's a good title in the amateurs, but it's not renowned for being the best, or the Olympics, which would have been 2 years later, and I was already getting on for 25. So do I wait for the Olympics? I think it would have been, was it the Athens?
Yes.
2004. So
yes.
Do I wait for them, or do I turn professional and make a start on a pro career? Well, to be honest, I didn't want to do either. I was quite happy that I just boxed in the Worlds. I could stick around in the amateurs for a few more years and then just leave it there. I only got back into amateur boxing to get myself fit. I had no aspirations or ambitions of turning professional.
What would you have done with your life otherwise, do you think?
I was working in an office locally from here. It was Diamond Cable when I joined, then NTL, now it's Virgin Media. So it's a big office environment. I was in there doing that because I'd done a business and finance course at college. And I was just, I don't know, I was working for my mum in the pubs, and I was working as a nightclub bar manager from the pub trade, and I was also studying. I was at a bit of a loose end, didn't know what I'd do. I was playing snooker. I've always loved snooker. I've always loved individual sports, played a bit of golf, snooker, tennis, always one-on-one sports, mano a mano, and I got back into boxing to keep fit. So after the World Championships, I'd have probably stayed on the England squad boxing for England because the lottery sports funding was coming in. And it would have made sense to pursue my amateur career. But I met up with Rob McCracken in Ireland and spent 6 or 7 months with him, travelling up and down the motorway to London, training with some early professionals. Matthew Fairwell, he turned professional when I did. David Walker, Leo O'Reilly. There's a couple of fighters that I turned pro with. And the rest is history, really. I mean, we got going, me and Rob, down in London. And I know this is almost a Nottingham belt because I won this British title in Nottingham. My first 6 or 7 fights, I think, were at the old York Hall in Bethnal Green.
You turned pro there, didn't you?
Fantastic place, fantastic venue for early on in your career. It's like 1,500 or 2,000 seat venue, and it's on top because you've got the crowd on the floor, then you've got the balconies that's almost feels like they're above you in the ring. So intimate, but what a fantastic place to fight for your belts, and that's where I won. Well, it's not where I won the title, it's where I started my career.
Learned your trade.
And learned my trade, yeah. I actually won the British title in Nottingham and the Commonwealth title in Nottingham. Then
things started to happen very quickly for you. And that world title opportunity, Jean Pascal. What are your memories of how it came together for you?
The Jean Pascal fight happened actually in December 2008. I turned professional in 2002. So it was actually 6 years later, and a couple of career gaps with injuries and with changing TV broadcasters, politics in boxing. I was on BBC when I started. Then I moved to Sky. And then I was back on a terrestrial channel, ITV, when I boxed for the vacant WBC title against Jean Pascal. And then after winning that, the ITV, I think they showed my first defence the following day, but they wasn't the main broadcaster. So it was difficult. It did drag on a bit. I mean, I was quick in terms of who I boxed in my next fight. I wasn't brought on slowly, fighting pub doorman and, you know, fighting a window cleaner. I was in real fights, real hard fights from the start.
Absolutely.
And that set me up for what was a very tough career, because once I won the WBC title, the vacant title of Jean Pascal, the resume of my opponents was real top quality.
Well, I think to a degree what was true was that your profile started to rise faster in America than it was rising in Britain for a period. To think that your first defence was against Jermaine Taylor, and what a hard fight that was. And you could have lost that fight, right?
I nearly did lose it. I was 14 seconds away from losing that fight. I mean, I got put down for the first time ever in my career in round 3. I got hit with a right hand I didn't see coming. Climbed off the canvas to win. But I started to get to Taylor around 10, 11, and in round 12 I really put the heat on him. And I think there was an 18-punch combination thrown in the dying seconds of the last round, and the referee had seen enough. I needed to either knock him out, force a stoppage, or the towel to come in. And actually 14 seconds before the bell went, all 3 of those things happened. Amazing. The ref jumped in, he was knocked out on his feet, and the towel came in at the same time, and that sort of set me on my road to the big time, if you like, in boxing, because I beat Jermaine Taylor in his backyard. And following that, I entered the Super 6 World Boxing Classic tournament.
That was a huge win.
And you say I made my name in America before I became big in America. That's because I signed up to an American tournament.
Yes. Next one was a very tight squeeze, wasn't it, against Andre Durrell?
Very close fight, very tight fight. Some people had him winning, some people had me winning. I had me winning, which people say, well, you're going to have yourself winning. But I watched the fight, actually, for the first time in probably 3 years, last night.
Really?
Just because I'm looking at him and comparing him to a few people that are maybe on my radar at the minute.
That's interesting.
And I've had a look at it, and I thought I definitely won the fight. It was very close. I think one of the score cards had it a draw, and 2 had it for me. But I was champion. I was backing him up the whole night. I was hitting him with shots, and all he was doing from round 1 through to round 12, really. He had to go in round 10, 11, caught with a good shot, actually. But one good shot doesn't win you a fight. He was running and holding and trying to get through the fight and surviving. Now, you can't come to somebody's back garden, Nottingham, and try and take their WBC world title off them by stealing it in front of the judges. You can't just nick and run and try and nick a decision. I was backing him up, hitting him hard, trying to make the fight. He was holding, clinching, running, ducking low, falling on the floor. He got a point deducted for holding, so the referee could see what he was doing. And I rightly so got the decision in a very, very tough fight against a really good fighter. He's now mandatory, actually, in line for the IBF. So if the fight with De Gale doesn't happen, which we're probably going to come to, De Gale will have to fight Andre Durrell. And to be honest, I don't fancy his chances against Durrell.
When you think back to that period of your career, though, do you feel the industry at large left you unappreciated?
I think so, yeah.
Television.
Without sounding bitter, I never turned professional to become rich and famous. I turned professional because of my love of boxing. And people say, what's it like now, walking down the street and getting stopped and giving you your autograph? And it's been a very natural progression, very slow progression. I didn't go from the amateurs and get catapulted straight into superstardom like Olympic gold medalists do these days and then become well-known household name overnight. I've worked through the rankings and come through British, Commonwealth, missed out on the European, but fought for a vacant WBC title, then disappeared in America for 2 years and entered the tournament. And I'm not undefeated. I've been beat, you know, I've tasted defeat, but I've come back from defeat and I'm now at the top of my tree again.
We'll just pause for a moment, I think, at this point, because there are going to be some very big names coming up. Mikael Kessler, Andre Ward, and of course, we're speaking about you making the breakthrough, a crossover star at last, thanks to your victories here at home against George Grove. So all of that part of Carl Froch's career coming next.
How Sif broke the curse of the street. The princess cleaned and cleaned, but horrid streaks cursed her bathroom until she summoned Sif, power and shine. Sif banished all the limescale and streaks. For 100% streak-free shine, there's always a beautiful ending with Sif, power and shine.
Style someday. Two drifters are
delicious new recipe bases. Maybe I cook tonight.
This is good, Sophia. Maybe you cook every night, huh?
When's your Dolmio day?
It's an early start for the rescue team.
We've had a couple of reports of neglect at this address. All we're going to do is have a little look around your cupboards.
Oh, stuck right at the back. Who knows how long that's been in here.
But there's no rest as another case is called in.
Not like here, to be honest with you.
The team is shocked by what they find.
Baby one.
OK, don't panic.
It's not been used in months.
And an emotional day ends in a rewarding rehoming.
I really love this one.
OK.
Love it, hate it, just don't forget it.
A Boxing Tonight special with Carl Froch, unquestionably BT Sports Fighter of the Year in 2014. Maybe I should have mentioned that already on the show today. That's one of the reasons we're here. and of course to look ahead to what may remain in the rest of your career. But once you'd risen to prominence, I think one of the reasons why you are so very highly respected and your place is assured in British boxing is it was one big, hard fight after another, and the intensity surrounding fights with the likes of Mikkel Kessler, even when you didn't get the result first time. What are your memories of Kessler, first time?
First fight with Kessler, the memories are sad, bitter disappointment, to be honest. Real devastated because I lost my belt. I'm not going to cry, Roy. I'm not going to cry, but I lost my beloved WBC title to Kessler. But it was quickly sort of washed away with the format and the structure of the Super 6 World Boxing Classic tournament that I was in, because I shortly found out that I would actually be fighting for my belt again, because Mikkel Kessler retired after that fight with him due to an injury in one of his eyes. I think his eye was injured. So my belt went back vacant, back in the tournament, and I would be fighting Arthur Abraham.
Was he the best man you fought to that stage, Kessler? You said how hard you had a fight you had with Amadou for the...
Adamo was a tough fight, a hard fight, but mainly because I was inexperienced, 12th fight, not confident to do 12 rounds, a bit unsure of myself. So he wasn't the best fighter I ever boxed. Probably up to that point, it's probably fair to say Mikkel Kessler was, but having said that, I'd boxed John Pascal, who he went on to beat Chad Dawson and become a light heavyweight champion of the world. So, you know, if you put Mikkel Kessler in with Jean Pascal at that time, that would have been a pick-em fight. So, yes, I mean, probably was the hardest fight because he beat me. I mean, I beat Pascal.
Was it as hard for you, Carl, to deal with defeat as it so often is for a big-time fighter who has been undefeated to that point?
It was difficult because I turned professional and you want to go through your career being unbeaten. But I quickly realised I'd actually be given the chance to fight straight for it in the format of the Super 6 tournament I was in. So, OK, I've been beat, I've lost, but I've lost to Kessler, a great man, great champion, a proud warrior. I didn't mind giving him my trophy and saying, there you go, you beat me fair and square, take the belt. People was arguing, saying you should have won that. If you wasn't in Denmark, you'd have won. I'm like, well, listen, I was in Denmark and I didn't win. So don't worry about it. I lost fair and square to Mikkel Kessler, regardless of what the CompuBox stats saying, who landed more punches and whatever. I felt I'd lost on the night and I didn't get the decision. So there was no hard feelings there. I knew I could beat him. That's why when the rematch happened, I was up for it. But I knew it was going to be tough.
Do you think it gave you a little extra polish? Because your next two against Abraham and Johnson, now maybe they weren't quite at that ultimate elite level, but hugely respected, hugely accomplished, world-class performers. And you seemed to win in style.
Definitely. I think losing to Mikkel Kessler gave me an edge, and gave me a sense of determination and motivation that really got me on my A game. Arthur Abraham was unbeaten other than his disqualification loss, where he KO'd Dirrell. And it was a disqualification. He KO'd him when he was on one knee, but he still knocked the kid out, and Dirrell's a great fighter. So that was his only loss. So fighting Abraham, a big puncher, a bit of a monster, unbeaten in the sense, other than disqualification loss, it was a big, big ask. And a lot of people was like, oh, dear me, Froch just lost to Kessler, now he's got to fight Abraham.
Exactly.
This is going to be tough. Turned out to be one of my career best performances, one of them. The best one up to that point, against a guy that was supposed to be a tough fight. It was almost a flawless victory, and I'm not giving myself a big head or patting myself on the back, because I don't do that, but I won every round. Outboxed him, outworked him, outfought him, outmaneuvered him, did everything I needed to do to make sure I got that belt back. And it was almost like I was up against Team Sauerland, not Arthur Abraham, because Sauerland promoted Kessler. And there's something about Keller's face when he's sitting at ringside, pulling faces and twisting his hands around, and he's almost like, his dad's almost like...
The corporation wants this belt back.
Exactly, and I'm thinking, you ain't getting this belt, you're not having it. So that was motivation as well in itself.
The one in the middle is, I think, the WBA.
That's the WBA belt.
Now, you had a smash and grab at that against, arguably, with every respect, the best in the division, Andre Ward.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Well, yeah, the Super 6 final was up against Ward, so...
That's the biggest fight of your career to that point, isn't it?
It was, yeah. Andre Ward and I got through to the final of the Super 6 by accumulating the most points. He was undefeated. I wasn't undefeated. I lost to Kessler, but then I won my next two, and I'm up against Ward. All I remember about the Ward fight was what a horrible night it was. It was one of them fights where you come out frustrated. I'm 12 rounds into the fight. I'm in the last round. I know I've lost. I know I've been outboxed and outpointed, regardless of what the scores. I think 2 of the scores were 115, 113.
Yes.
Which meant if I won another round, it would have been a draw.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm not going to dine out on that or even mention that. I got beat fair and square by Andre Ward. He outboxed me, he outworked me, he sat on my chest, he grabbed me, he made it awkward, horrible, messy. It actually put a glass eye to sleep watching him fight. He's boring. And that's the reason he's not got a television broadcaster deal in America, and that's the reason he's not fought for over a year. But he beat me, and I'm not bothered. I'm really not interested. I lost the fight. I was upset, but honestly, let's get on with my career. Let's just go back to England. The Super 6 is done. I've lost to Ward, number 2 pound for pound in the world. Not lost since he was 12 years old. Olympic gold medalist, blah, blah, blah. He didn't beat me up. I didn't beat him up. I got more beat up by Kessler when I lost, and I felt more proud getting beat up by Kessler, my lumps and bumps and stitches, than getting out the ring with Ward, unscathed. My hands weren't swelled up because I couldn't land a bloody shot. And it was so frustrating. You can see I don't want the rematch. He says I talk about him a lot. I don't. Andre Ward can do what he's doing and carry on with his career, because since losing to Ward, again, I've had a fantastic career. And my first fight back after that loss was similar to the first fight back after I lost to Kessler.
Now, I think it's a truism to say that in the career of all top fighters, there is a point that the man himself reaches where he knows it could all be about to slip away. You have now, at this point in your career, lost in 2 major fights, to Kessler and to Ward. So when you get the opportunity against Lucien Butte, from your point of view, Carl, looking back on that now, was that a whole other level of pressure?
It was a whole other level of pressure that I totally put myself under, because after coming out of the Super 6 and losing to Ward, I got a phone call off Eddie Hearn saying, don't be upset and don't be too downhearted, because you don't realise how big you are now. We'll get you back into Britain. We'll get a big fight for you on a platform that's going to give you the recognition you deserve and that you need. And you can just have a little easy fight. Just have an easy fight, warm into it, get your fan base. I said, listen, Eddie, I can't train for an easy fight. I don't want to fight anybody easy. I need something to get my teeth into. He says, well, who are you thinking? I says, well, who do you think I'm thinking? He said, surely not Butte. Well, he's the IBF champ. He wasn't in the tournament. And everyone's saying, would Ward have beat Butte? I want to get to him before Ward gets to him. And he said, let me see what I can do. And it was almost a day later. He phoned me up and said, not only can we get the Butte fight, he's going to come to England. And I just thought, you cheeky so-and-so.
Was that overconfidence on his part, do you think?
Possibly. But he's going to come to England to fight me in my backyard and defend his belt. I thought, great, let's have it. And I've never trained so hard, or as hard as the Abraham fight.
Did you feel that, we talked earlier about how comfortable you are when you're working in Nottingham, you still even now train just down the road from where you live most of the time. Did you sense he's walked into a trap, all the bits are falling into place, and I'm going to deliver my best?
That's what I thought. I thought I'm going to deliver my best. I'm not sure about him walking into a trap. I suppose he was a disadvantage coming to England, but in his mind he's very confident. He's seen I've been beat. I lost to Kessler, close fight, whatever it was, away from him, but I lost to Kessler and I've just been beat by Ward. Now Andre Ward, to me, he's unbeatable. Unless you knock him out, he's unbeatable. You can't beat him on points, and you can't knock somebody out you can't hit. You know, the best chin in the world is the one that don't get hit, and he doesn't get hit on the chin. That's largely due to his negative defensive style. So when I'm going into the fight with Butte, I'm thinking, OK, Kessler fight's winnable. I know what went wrong there. Big volcanic ash cloud. No excuses, reasons. I flew in late. The Ward fight, Ward's Ward. Ward don't get beat. He hasn't lost since he was 12. So I'm confident. I'm thinking, OK, you think you've got an easy take in here, so you may take your foot off the gas. You're flying in from Canada. You're coming over to defend your title, but you're coming to my fortress in Nottingham thinking that you can beat me and take your belt home with you.
That's for this one,
What
right?
a mistake. That's for the IBF title. So that fight happened. I trained like a professional should train, like a world champion or an ex-world champion that wants to become champion again should train. And if I do say so myself, I absolutely demolished him.
You were outstandingly good on the night. I thought you always trained perfectly.
I always train very, very hard, but there's a difference between my normal hard training and then when I get that bit in my mind and that bit between my teeth where I do extra stuff at night and I'm really, really careful and like almost anal with my diet and I do extra bits and where it's mainly mental. I'm still hitting targets on my watch. I've got my sat-nav watch on and I know I'm doing 6 minutes, 20 miles and I know I'm doing 6 miles in 30 7 minutes, which is really fast, and my sprints are good, and my rounds of sparring around between 130 and 150 rounds of sparring. I'm doing all my push-ups and sit-ups and blah, blah, blah. It's all logged. But when I've got that bit inside my mind which told me, right, OK.
I had the impression as well that Robert McCracken at this point, in the build-up to that fight, was tailoring his information to you brilliantly, perfectly. This is what we'll need to do against this guy. This is how he will try to adapt to it. You were all on your game that time, weren't you?
Definitely, 100%. Right up until the first bell went, the ring walk, you know, I was doing everything. I'd tick in all the boxes in a professional build-up, as I have done in a couple of fights since then. I've used that same model to go and then win next fights, and I'll be doing it for every single fight until I retire.
Nonetheless, the first of the George Groves affairs, is there still a bad taste about it all from your side?
Well, no, there can't be. If I still had a bad taste in my mouth about George Groves, there'd have to be something wrong with me, because I absolutely knocked him flat out in front of 80,000 people at the Wembley Stadium.
We'll get to that. I'm talking about the
fight
first
in British boxing history.
The first time.
First fight, terrible. Couldn't stand him on the build-up, and then on the build-up to the second fight. If we're talking on the build-up to the second fight, yes, there was genuine animosity in Needle for choice of nice
Did that
words.
not arise because you felt you had not performed to your best in the first fight?
No, that arose because of a young, disrespectful, obnoxious idiot boy talking down at me and really, really playing down my achievements and my performances, and getting almost a gift performance in the first fight because of my bad preparation, my unprofessionalism in preparation for the first fight. And, you know, I did so much wrong in the first fight, and I'm at fault for that. And it works out that it was a good job I did. It was a good job I was ill-prepared. It's a good job I wasn't fit. Because with that and George Groves and the way he was, we got the perfect foil for the rematch and the biggest boxing match on the biggest platform in British boxing history post-war. So, like he kept saying on the build-up to the second fight, everything for a reason. It really was everything. You could not have wrote the script for that rematch. But the first fight was genuine Needle. The second fight was genuine Needle. But the difference between the first and second fight in terms of Needle and my mindset, I was in control in the second fight, in control of myself. And that made a big difference.
But even now, and you're saying you're looking back at old fights and your performances, assessing where you are in your career, as honest as you are, surely there's a part of you that says, you know what, I got away with that, I was lucky.
The first fight?
Yes.
I could say to myself, I was lucky, but then I look back and watch the fight and say, what's lucky about getting put down in round one, climbing off the canvas, hurt, and then getting hit with everything but the kitchen sink for probably the next 5 or 6 rounds, getting hit with everything, but still having the strength, determination, mental belief to come out in round 7 and push him back and hit him around the body and smile at him and drop the nut in where I can and elbow him where I can and push him back and rough him up and look him in the eye and say, listen, son, I'm still coming. We've only done the first half. I might be 5-6-0 down in the first half, but you know, this is. But
this was like role reversal,
sport.
wasn't it? This was like you, these hard fights you had early in your career. You were now the old guy, maybe not on your best night by any means, just showing the young guy what it really is all about in there. Is that how you view it?
Well, you said, was I lucky in the first fight? And I was getting to the fact that there's nothing lucky about getting pasted for 6 rounds, but getting through it. No one got me through it. I got myself through it. I survived that first half of the fight, the first 6 rounds, through a pure grit and determination and experience. And in rounds 7, 8 and 9, I pasted him about the ring.
Did Robert McCracken afterwards tell you you got away with that?
Robert McCracken nearly pulled me out the fight 2 weeks before. I got an infection in my foot. I had athlete's foot. I was driving up to Sheffield and driving back from Sheffield with sweaty feet and coming home and showering and getting ready for my run. I should stay in Sheffield Monday through to Friday. I was travelling it up and down, didn't want to be in the fight, didn't want to fight George Groves. I wanted the Chavez fight. I wanted to go to America after the Kessler fight, after the Kessler rematch. I wanted a big fight in the States. And I took the Groves fight not wanting to take it, so I begrudged staying away from home and not seeing my kids and missing my homely comforts. I didn't do it. I stayed at home. And I got an infection in my foot. I couldn't straighten my left arm. There was problems, no excuses, because at the end of the day I won the fight. But it was all wrong. Dr. Loosemore, the guy, the doctor at the EIS in Sheffield, yes. He was going to pull me out of the fight. He said, look, to Rob, how important is the fight? Do you need it? I said, listen, this is a big fight on a big platform, and we've got to go ahead with it, really. If it don't happen, it's going to be terrible. So he says, right, OK, we'll give him a jab here and a jab there, and we'll take some of these, and we'll clear that up, and he can fight. And that's what I did. And I wasn't as fit as I should have been, but I can fight. And I wasn't as ready as I should have been, and I got hit with too many shots. But I'm tough, and you can hit me, and you can put me down, but you won't keep me down, ever. 2 times I've been put down in my career. Both fights I've got off the canvas to win. And have a look at rounds 7, 8 and 9 against Groves in the first fight. He was absolutely gone, beat up, bruised, battered and finished. Legs stiffened, head looking at the floor, arms slumped, taking shots. Howard Foster can see him, he's a foot away from him. The crowd that was booing, that didn't like the decision, they're 100 feet away plus. So Howard Foster made the right decision, but he stopped it a few seconds too early. But it was so good what he did. He'd done Groves a favour, he'd done me a favour in terms of the rematch, and everything was for a reason. And it was perfect. So as far as I'm concerned, I won the first fight fair and square, but I can agree with people when they say it was stopped too early, because I personally think it was stopped a few seconds too early.
You don't like him, though, do you, even now?
You know what? I don't look back on him and say I don't like him. Of course I don't like him, he's not my friend, but I don't feel any hatred towards him at all. I respect him as a fighter. I think he was brilliant in terms of building the rematch and selling the rematch. Without George Groves, we wouldn't have done 80,000 at Wembley Stadium. And we wouldn't have done such fantastic numbers on pay-per-view. It wouldn't have happened. It takes 2 to tango. You know, I needed a dance partner, and he was more than worthy of getting in the ring with me, and more than worthy of people justifiably thinking that George Groves is probably going to win this fight based on the first one. But they didn't know what I knew and what Howard Foster knew, that he was gone, finished against the worst possible me. So if the worst possible me can beat him up and finish him, what's me in great shape and great preparation going to do? Well, we saw that at Wembley. It was almost a one-sided performance.
Even now, is it very satisfying when you think about the finisher?
It's the most satisfying punch I've ever landed. He's gone on record and said, oh, by Carl's own admission, it's the best punch he's ever thrown. He's got that mixed up. The best punch with the most satisfying punch are worlds apart. For me to land perfectly on George Groves' chin and flatten him in front of 80,000 fans at the Wembley Stadium, and millions watching across the world, it was just unbelievably satisfying, a brilliant, best moment of my career.
Do you rate him?
He's not a bad fighter, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's finished. Don't forget, George Groves has been beat up 3 times by me. People who get beat up by me, and I'm not blowing my trumpet, oh, Carl Froch this, he beat someone up and he's done. Think about people who I've beat in the past, have gone on to do nothing. Some people like Pascal went on to win a world title. There's a lot of people who have done nothing. You know, I've finished a lot of people's careers by beating them, and then they've gone on to do nothing. Bute's just one of them. George Groves now, I think his jab's not landing. He's got no power in his right hand. I don't think he can hold a shot. A lot worse than what he could before I knocked him out. I think he's tentative when he fights. He almost fights gun-shy. And I think when he's training now, his mental state of mind from getting beat up, and I say 3 times because I knocked him out in sparring. Beat him up and knocked him out in sparring. And you don't do that often in sparring, because you wear big pillar gloves and head guards. Then I boxed him in Manchester and beat him up for the last 3 rounds and stopped him on his feet. He was KO'd on his feet when the ref stopped him and saved him. And then in the rematch, he got outboxed and absolutely knocked out cold with his leg bent behind his back. So he's had 3 pacings off me, and that is not healthy. It's not good for you, mentally and physically. So I will go on record and say George Groves is finished, and he'll probably never win a world title. And that's not bitter, because if George Groves does go on to become something and do well and wins a world title, it's better for me, because he's the guy, I beat him, look what he's gone on to do. It's always better when someone you beat goes on and does something. I just don't think he'll do anything. I think he's been finished.
Mentally,
he's been cobra'd.
Give me that again?
He's been cobra'd.
Mentally and physically, have you needed the time off since then?
Oh, definitely. I needed the time off mentally more than physically. I mean, physically, I like to think of myself as a fine specimen for a 12-stone weight-governed sport, because I do the weight so easy. I've been eating what I wanted for the last 6, 7 months. I've I've not been doing a great deal of training. I've been ticking over, and I can still, you know, I can still sort of boast a six-pack and very low body fat count through just natural genetics.
Good home cooking as well.
And some good home cooking. I do all my own cooking, actually.
Is that right?
That's right. Rachel never goes in the kitchen except to wash the odd pot and fill the dishwasher.
You can only say that because she's left the house
She'll
with the
be the
kids
first to tell you. She loves it. I'm a bit of a gourmet chef. I enjoy it.
We'll pause at this point because I think we're getting a clear impression that at this moment in time you are thinking about fighting again, and we're going to explore the options properly when we come back.
Explosive. Dominant. Destructive. Deontay Wilder has destroyed everyone in his path. Will he bring the heavyweight title back to America? Title holder Bermain Stavern might have something to say about that. Undefeated challenger versus champion. Stavern versus Wilder. Don't miss it.
How Sif broke the curse of the streaks. The princess cleaned and cleaned, but horrid streaks cursed her bathroom until she summoned Sif, power and shine. Sif banished all the lime scale and streaks. For 100% streak-free shine, there's always a beautiful ending with Sif, power and shine.
So then I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm flattered that you love chocolate, but I'm here strictly in a professional... What's wrong with him?
He thinks you're naked.
My shell is brown. It just looks like my milk chocolate is showing. Only a fool would think I'd actually show up naked.
So it's that kind of party. Hit it!
I'm sexy and I know it. Ay. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that body. Girl, look at that. I work out. Wiggle, 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 yeah.
Delicious new recipe bases. Maybe I cook tonight.
This is good, Sophia. Maybe you cook every night, huh?
When the York told me all day. My throat's hurting.
Why wait? Act now. Strepsils works fast, and its 2 medicated agents help to fight the infection that can cause a sore throat, unlike non-medicated sweets. For fast-acting relief that works in just 5 minutes, trust Strepsils. For relieving painful sore throats, take Strepsils Extra Strength. Its triple action relieves pain, fights infection, and soothes sore throats.
Been fascinating on this Boxing Tonight special at home with Carl Froch, speaking about some of the career highs so far. But I think we've already established on the show that you are, in your mind, set to continue. You are training. You're this very week working with Robert McCracken again. So is it all systems go?
It's all systems go, but it's not... For me, it's hard to be totally switched on to train like I need to train without a definite answer. And I genuinely do not know whether or not I'm fighting again. If I do fight, it looks like it's going to be March 28th. It looks like it's going to be Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And
so those negotiations continue?
They're still ongoing, right up until text messages exchanged between me and Eddie Hearn yesterday. I still don't know whether that fight's happening because there's legal issues with Chavez and top rank Bob Arum. He's now signed with Al Heyman, who's a very powerful man in boxing, and he seems to think that the fight can happen. But there's some legal issues we need to tie up.
Why do you want him as an opponent so badly?
Because Chavez is a big name. I think he's lost 1 fight in 50. He's got a massive following in America, big Mexican or Hispanic American Latino following. And I think I can beat him comfortably enough. I don't think it's an easy fight by no stretch of the imagination, but business-wise, and don't forget boxing, professional boxing is a business, first and foremost. The people talk about Golovkin, he's not pay-per-view. They talk about Andre Ward. I don't want to fight Andre Ward. He'll probably beat me on points. I'm a fighter, I'm not bothered, I'll go on there and say that. Andre Ward, if I didn't knock him out, he would beat me on points. But that aside, he's not a big fight. American TV don't want to show him on box office. So why do I want to fight Andre Ward? What's the point?
Is that the key ingredient for you at the moment? Because you are box office in Britain.
The key ingredient with Chavez is the fact that it's American box office and it's a big fight against somebody who carries plenty of danger, massive risk for me. He's a great fighter. You can't say he's a nothing fighter. And you read on Twitter people trying to rubbish his record and say he's not fought anybody. The only guy he's lost to is Sergio Martinez, and he had Martinez out of there in round 12. I don't know how he survived that last round. So, you know, it's a great fight, regardless of what people think, but bottom line is it makes financial sense for everybody, not just for me. I don't fight for money anymore. What I want to do is I want to tick the box of Las Vegas. I want to go to Vegas and end my career on a high, similar to what Joe Calzaghe did at the end of his career.
Now, there's a name. Would you have liked the opportunity to fight Joe? The timings weren't right, let's be clear about that. But
it would have been fantastic for me to fight Joe Calzaghe. At that stage of my career, it would have catapulted me to superstardom had I won. I'm not saying I would have won the fight. People say Calzaghe would have beat me, it would have absolutely annihilated me, and it would have been a one-sided whooping. I'm not going to argue with it, but bottom line is, the fight didn't happen because Joe Calzaghe didn't want the fight to happen. I was mandatory for this beautiful-looking bit of kit here, and he vacated it rather than fight me. Nothing I could do about it. I was there, ready. I actually phoned him up when I was on training camp and said to him, come on, let's get it on. I don't think he was happy about that. But he vacated the belt, so to say what would have happened if they would have fought, we'll never know because it didn't happen. But the reason it didn't happen is because Calzaghe didn't want the fight.
And the funny thing now, Carl, is that perhaps James DeGale is looking at you in exactly the same way. What about DeGale?
Well, it never ends, doesn't it? I mean, George Groves was mandatory for the IBF. He was mandatory for that, and people said don't fight him. I said, well, I don't really want to fight him, I want to fight Chavez in Vegas. That fight never happened. So I took the Groves fight. I didn't want to take the fight because I couldn't get motivated. And that showed when I boxed him, because I nearly came unstuck. I didn't want to fight him in the rematch because he's fighting another British fighter that I've just beaten, and I still want this fight in Vegas with Chavez. But it just turns out you know, what had happened, the controversy in the first fight was building so much. I was almost, and people say I was forced into a rematch. I wasn't. George Groves did get remandated, and the fight was there, and I had to fight him or vacate. But 24 hours after that first fight, I had a conversation with Eddie Hearn, and I said, I will fight George Groves. I want to fight George Groves. But as far as everybody else is concerned, I'm not fighting him. Why did I do that? Business. That's business. So he waited a month. 5 weeks, he went over to America, got himself mandated. Brilliant. 85-15 split. Don't want to go on about it, it's cringy talking about money, but it's business. Got George Groves exactly where I needed him, exactly where I wanted him, then boom, let's do the deal, let's get the fight done. I'll train this time. And that's bottom line, that's what it was. There's a lot more than meets the eye to the fighter than me. Business-wise, and me and Eddie Hearn as a team were quite ruthless. And
understood.
Quite strident.
So what if the business dictates that your best option is DeGale?
If the business dictates the best option is DeGale, financially, for everybody but myself, it makes a difference. And I'm the fighter. I'm not fighting for financial gain. I've actually never boxed I never turned professional for the riches, for the fame and the fortune of boxing. I turned professional because Robert McCracken said you do something and you'll actually be paid better than what you're getting at the England squad, at the amateur. And I thought, you know what, OK, I'm going to get a better living out of professional boxing, but I'm never going to make a fortune. I never had the confidence I'd be good enough. That was a slow, natural progression, fight by fight. That was Robert McCracken engineering me and manufacturing my natural talents and turning me into what I am. So the fight with DeGale is another fight in England against the next British kid. So I beat DeGale, knock him out, I've done him. There's always going to be another one. Callum Smith's coming up. There'll be, oh, fight Callum Smith. And it's like, where does it end? It doesn't end. I want to fight in Vegas. It's what Joe Calzaghe did. He gave the belt up. He gets a lot of stick. I don't give him any stick for vacating. He vacated the belt rather than fight me. But I can see why he did it. He went over and fought Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins was a fantastic win for Calzaghe. Look what Hopkins has done since.
It's funny, though, that you have followed in his footsteps in so many ways in recent years. And here's another thought. Joe went to light heavyweight in the end. I'm looking at you today thinking, no, you're as good as new at super middle, but has that thought crossed your mind to finish out as a light heavyweight? There's some big names, and it's a division now, Carl, that's seeming to become more valuable in the business sense than maybe for 10, 15 years.
I started to think about light heavyweight a couple of years ago when Nathan Cleverly started making a bit of noise about a fight. And I went into camp, and I'm literally 2 weeks into camp, and I'm 12 stone 7. 175 pounds. That's the light heavyweight limit. I'm not even having a go at my diet. I'm not really doing my long runs that take the weight off, that get your stamina into your lungs and your heart. And as soon as I start them, I'm dropped down to 12.3, 12.4. Bottom line is I'm not a light heavyweight.
But you are a warrior.
I spar with Tony Bellew.
And you want glamour fights.
But I'm not stupid. Have you met Antonio Tarver? Have you seen the size of him?
Big guy.
Big guy.
Stevenson.
Tony Bellew, 6'3", 15 stone. He's cruiserweight now, but as a light heavyweight, I'm not a light heavyweight. It's as simple as that.
You're going to fight again, aren't you?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. If this fight doesn't come off with Chavez in Vegas on March 28th, I don't know if I mentioned the date earlier when I said it, we're literally, the phone could ring now while I'm doing this interview, and it could be Eddie Hearn saying, we're on it. I'm up this morning running. This afternoon I'm in the gym with Robert McCracken. It's 12 weeks. Well, it's not 12 weeks. It's 11 weeks and 5 days till the fight on March 28th. I still don't know whether I'm fighting, genuinely, because of the legal contractual issues between Chavez and Arum.
What is Carl Froch most proud of?
My kids. If you're talking about my boxing career, I'm proud of the fact that I will fight anybody, anywhere in the world, and defend my titles. And you talk about George Groves, and I'm now hearing about James DeGale. If James DeGale wants to come to Vegas and the American TV broadcasters want to make that a pay-per-view fight in America, and Eddie Hearn's happy with that, and everyone's happy, then I'll fight James DeGale. I'll defend this IBF title against James DeGale, provided that happens in Las Vegas. But it doesn't. I don't want to go back to the O2 Arena. The O2 is where I won this fight with Mikhail Kessler, the WBA belt. I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. I don't want to go back there. I'm at the end of my... If I was 28 years old and had another 5, 6, 7 years left in the pro game, I'd fight DeGale, I'd knock him out. Let's not forget, DeGale lost his chance to fight me when he lost to George Groves. That's how boxing works. George Groves beat James DeGale. James DeGale went back down the queue. George Groves fought me, not once but twice. The same would have happened with DeGale. He'd have got flattened. Probably not twice, just once.
I think you're due your place in the Hall of Fame for what it's worth in British terms, because you have climbed every rung of the ladder in the proper fashion. These belts are the testimony to that. Your beautiful home, the fruits of your success. You've a lot to be proud of, haven't you? Oh, definitely, definitely. I've had a very glossy, fantastic career, but I've worked from day one as a World Championship bronze medalist, not an Olympic gold medalist, which wouldn't have done me any good, because that would have catapulted me to the early superstardom. And there could have been an Audley Harrison story here, and I don't want to just dig him out, but you know, these kids that are catapulted right up there on the back of Olympic success, I don't think it does them any good. I came through the hard way, the tough way, fighting anybody who's anyone, next in line, next mandatory. Went over to America to defend my first world title against Taylor. Nearly got beat, but didn't get beat. Climbed off the canvas to win. Then went in the hardest tournament in world boxing, the Super 6 Boxing Classic. Fought everybody. Fought Kessler, lost to him, beat him in a rematch. Fought Boutte, unbeaten in 30 fights, 25 knockouts, whatever his record was. Nobody thought I was going to win. I think Eddie Hearn might have thought I was going to win. I know Robert McCracken thought I was going to win, but nobody at the TV broadcasters thought I was going to win. How many times have you proven me wrong?
But that's
Let's
fine.
Be clear.
That's fine. No problem. You're entitled to your opinion. It's nothing personal. It's not about Carl Froch. It's about actually the boxer Carl Froch, and I don't think that boxer can win against him. But I've done it. I've proven it. I've defended again against Kessler, avenged that loss, and now I'm at the stage where I've beat Groves once. Didn't quite satisfy everyone. Absolutely satisfied them and myself in the second fight in the rematch. And now I'm sitting here saying, what is there left for me to do in this world of boxing? And that is Las Vegas. And if that doesn't happen, mark my words, keep the cameras rolling. If I don't fight Chavez Jr. in Las Vegas, I will retire. And I don't tell lies. I've got no need to tell lies. I'm very, very truthful, open and honest. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'll tell you how it is. If that fight doesn't happen, I will retire. And if people want to have a go at me and say, you didn't fight DeGale and he's mandatory, I'll just say, well, he can go and fight Andre Durrell then. We'll see how he gets on. We would like to keep the cameras rolling for another hour and more, but it's only a 1 hour special, and it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for your hospitality. Carl Froch to open the year here on BT Sport. Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed it too. Next week, it's to Cardiff to meet Robert Smith, the man who ultimately is the controller of British boxing. The General Secretary speaks to us next week on Boxing Tonight.